Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for attending the Basics of Professional Liability Insurance webinar featuring Sarah Juliona. Sarah is the marketing coordinator for CPH Insurance, and she has experience in both underwriting and claims departments. CPH Insurance, formerly CPH and Associates, is a leading provider of malpractice insurance for mental health professionals throughout the United States. With our easy-to-use online platform and coverage that is tailored to meet your needs, CPH will protect your professional career from malpractice claims and lawsuits. I'm Andrea Camp, your sales manager with Therapy Sites, and we specialize in building websites and online marketing solutions for mental health professionals. I'd like to personally welcome each and every one of you to this free educational event. During today's session, Sarah is going to ask some questions to you, and we'd love for you to participate. So if you want to take a look at the GoToWebinar control panel, on there you'll see a questions tab. Feel free to use this tab to answer any questions, ask any of your own questions, and make any comments that you have along the way. After the webinar has been concluded, we do have a quick survey. We'd love to hear your feedback. Now that we've gotten all that taken care of, let's meet our presenter, Sarah. Take it away, Sarah.
Hi, Andrea, and hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I'm just popping in here so you can see my face, and then I'll turn this off once we get started. Yes, I am Sarah. I'm coming to you from CPH Insurance. So we'll hopefully answer some of your questions about the basics of a professional liability insurance policy and what you're covered for. So let's get started. Okay, so first, we're just going to start off with a little bit about CPH. As Andrea said, we are an insurance agency that's based in Chicago, and we specialize in professional liability insurance for mental health professionals. So we've been doing this for just over 20 years now, and we are very proud to partner with Therapy Sites on these webinars. And we were formerly CPH and Associates. We rebranded last year. So if you've seen the CPH logo, they used to be blue and blocky. Now we're kind of like a dark green, but we're still the same CPH with the same coverage and customer service. At CPH, we prioritize our customer service and improving our technology to make sure your experience is as easy and simple as possible. So just to start off with a brief overview, we're going to go through a professional liability policy, so the standard coverage with CPH, some optional coverages that mental health providers might want to consider, and then we'll end with some claim scenarios so you can see how the policy works. So in a CPH policy, which should be pretty similar to other professional liability insurance policies, we offer professional liability insurance, state licensing board investigation defense coverage, subpoena and deposition expense coverage, and attorney consults. So we'll go a little more in depth into each of these. So just to start off, basics, if you're not familiar with it, what is professional liability insurance? You might have heard it called malpractice insurance or errors and omissions, but essentially it's coverage for claims or suits that are brought against you and your license. So we've brought out the policy definition of professional liability, which is coverage for sums that you become legally obligated to pay as damages because of a professional incident. And a professional incident would be an actual or alleged negligent act, error, or omission in the actual rendering of professional services. So those are a little bit of a mouthful, but essentially when you see professional liability insurance, you can just think it's covering me for my profession, my services. There are two kinds of professional liability policies available. At CPH, we offer what's called occurrence coverage, and this is lifetime coverage for the policy period, regardless of when a claim is reported. So if there is a claim or suit being brought against you, the policy will cover you as long as you were insured at the time of the incident or treatment that resulted in the claim or suit. So say you have a policy for a number of years and you decide to stop practicing or retire and end your coverage. If there is if someone decides to sue you 5 years into your retirement, you will still have coverage on an occurrence policy because you were insured at the time that you saw that patient or client. With occurrence coverage, there's no increase in the policy premium unless there's a change in your occupation or rating category. And with occurrence coverage, you don't have to purchase a tail, which we'll get into a little more in the next slide. So the other kind of coverage available is claims-made coverage. So you might find this with other insurance companies. Claims-made policies only cover claims that occur and are reported while the policy is in effect or active. So once that policy ends, you are no longer able to to file a claim unless you purchase tail coverage. And tail coverage gives you an additional few years of reporting time after your policy ends for potential future claims. So tail coverage is sometimes called an extended reporting period, but if you hear those things, they only relate to claims-made policies. So you only need to get this if it's claims-made. With occurrence, like the previous slide, there's no need to purchase a tail. Oh, and one other point, claims-made policies, their premium typically increases for the first 5 years of the policy until the policy is considered mature. So those are the two big differences between occurrence and claims-made. On a professional liability policy, you'll see that you have limits for the coverage. So this is the amount that the policy will pay for damages or a settlement in a claim. At CPH, we offer these two standard limits, $1 million per occurrence, meaning the policy pays up to $1 million per claim or suit. And if there are multiple claims in 1 year, the policy could pay a maximum of $3 or $5 million. The difference in the rates for these two would typically ranges from about $2 to $10 for the year. And the 1 million, 3 million limit is pretty widely accepted by most credentialing requirements. But of course, we do recommend checking with your employer or agency or a contract to make sure that you're in compliance with those requirements. There are 3 states where we offer higher limits because of their state law. So Minnesota, Virginia, and Oregon have additional limits available. And if you have a requirement from a lease or contract, we do offer options to increase in that situation as well. With your professional liability policy, you receive unlimited defense coverage. So the policy doesn't just pay for the settlement or damages, it also pays for the legal fees to defend you. So it pays for an attorney and their fees and court costs to defend you in that claim. And those fees will not reduce the limits available for the settlement or the judgment of a covered claim. Professional liability insurance is portable coverage, so it follows you wherever you can legally practice within the United States. So we often get asked about walk and talk therapy, if someone is just limited to their office, or if they can only do in person, or if they could also do telehealth. So those situations are covered by the policy as long as your license allows you to practice in that way. So if your state licensing board says, yes, you can do walk and talk therapy, and your license allows you to do telehealth, the policy will cover that automatically. So there's no additional endorsement or rider that needs to be added. It is just portable coverage throughout the US. And that does apply to carrying licenses in multiple states. So if you have a license in California and Illinois, you don't need separate policies. This one policy will cover wherever you can practice in the US. So the second coverage in a typical professional liability policy is state licensing board defense coverage. And this is coverage for defending you to the board if you receive a licensing board complaint or investigation. So at CPH, we offer, as part of our standard policy, up to $35,000 per year for legal expenses. So if you receive notice of a board complaint and you file a claim, we'll assign an attorney to you to work with you to respond to the board and fight those allegations. We do offer options to increase the limits to 75 or 100,000. And if you don't have a policy with CPH, I do encourage you to confirm with your professional liability insurance company that you have this coverage, because this is our most common type of claim. Unfortunately, most states make it very easy to file a board complaint. Just right online, they provide a link that a customer or a client's family member can click on very easily and fill out. So this is probably the most important coverage to have as a mental health provider. The next coverage that's part of our policy is subpoena and deposition coverage. And so this is meant for a situation where there's no allegation or claim being filed against you, the provider, but you might be subpoenaed to produce records or provide testimony to support a client in their own case. So maybe the client is fighting an insurance case or with their auto insurance, or they're going through a divorce and a custody battle. Their attorney might subpoena your records. So as part of your insurance policy, you have access to an attorney to advise you on what information, if any, you should provide. And finally, as part of our policy, we offer what we call our Avoiding Liability Helpline. And this provides up to 2 hours per year of consultation with a malpractice attorney for situations that are not claims, but could lead to something. So if you have an active situation with a client that you're unsure how to proceed, you can call our office to schedule an appointment with an attorney. We can usually set it up either same day or within a few business days of your call. And the attorney can advise you on your next steps. So some examples of what our insureds call us about would be questions about confidentiality or reporting requirements if a client discloses some abuse, or frequently it's patient access to records. So the patient or a family member might ask to see the records. Sometimes there are threats from patients or questions about potential dual relationships. So if you have a policy with CPH, you have access to up to 2 hours per year. And again, I'd encourage you to find out if you don't have a policy with CPH, if your insurance company does offer this, because it is probably our most used policy benefit. So with a professional liability policy, you have the option to apply for either individual coverage or a corporate policy. So the individual policy, like it sounds, it covers just the individual provider. If you have an LLC or corporation, we would recommend carrying a corporate or business policy, because that would cover the business, you as the owner and any of your partners, W-2 employees, volunteers, and students who are providing services for your business. Some of the questions that we get asked about the corporate coverage and the need for applying for individual versus corporate. Does a one-person business need to apply for corporate coverage? Or will a policy under my individual name cover my business if I'm the sole owner? So in this case, even for single-person businesses, we do recommend the corporate coverage. If you have an LLC or corporation, it's possible for both you and your business to be named in a lawsuit. Unfortunately, an individual policy, because it only covers you, will not cover the business if it's named in the suit. Sorry. If I have a business entity policy, do I also need a separate individual policy? The answer to that is no. So you don't need to carry separate individual coverage. The business policy will cover you and your business on the same policy. And finally, will having corporate coverage change my premium? So we're going to look at the rates for individual and business policies. So in this slide, we've brought out the rates for most mental health and behavioral health occupations at the limits of 1 million per occurrence and 3 million aggregate. just to give you a general idea of what you'd be looking at. So students are looking at a rate of about $15 for the year. If you're at the associate or provisional level, it's about $90. Once you're fully licensed, the rate is based on your employment category. So if you are a W-2 employee, the rate would be a flat $115 for the year. If you are a contractor or self-employed, the rate is based on the number of hours that you work. So generally, if you work more hours, the policy rate is higher. Now looking at the business rates, you can see they sort of map to the individual rates. The way a business policy is rated is we ask you to provide a list of all of the owners, employees, students, and volunteers in your business. And it's calculated based on the number of people in the business and their level of licensure and their role at your company. So if you have students, each student that you have is $15 for the year. Each associate or provisional license is $90. Your W-2 employees would be $115 per person, and owners would cost $320 per person. So each year, you're required to provide a staff list to us so that we can calculate it for the next year. So the premium, it can change from year to year depending on the number of staff that you have. If you do have a business policy, as we said, there is coverage for employees. And a question we get asked a lot is, how does the policy handle staff changes? Because we understand, throughout the year, people may come and go. You might be hiring more people and expanding. And administratively, it's hard to keep track and let everyone know, especially your insurance company, of who is still on your staff. So our policy provides blanket coverage for all of your W-2 employees. So that means employees are automatically covered when they join your company and automatically lose coverage when they leave. So you do not need to notify us if you are adding or removing people mid-policy. We'll just ask you at your next renewal for that staff list, and that's how we'll determine the rate for the next year. If you have independent contractors, the coverage is a little different. So contractors need to maintain their own individual coverage because they are not covered by the business policy. However, the business policy does include vicarious coverage for the business for the contractor services. So if there is a claim or suit involving the contractor services where both the contractor and the business are named, your business would have coverage on the policy because those services were provided on behalf of the business. And the contractor would need to contact their own insurance company for their coverage because they would not be covered by your policy. Okay, and next we'll jump into some optional coverages that are commonly added for mental health practices. The first one is an additional insured, and this is the most common optional coverage we see. This provides secondary coverage for a landlord, a property manager, employer, agency that you contract with, or if you're a student, your supervisor or the school practicum site. This is coverage if you are required to name someone else on the policy. So your employer might ask to be added as an additional insured to your policy. So this means if your employer is named in a claim or suit involving services you provide for them, your policy would give them coverage in that claim or suit. So we only recommend adding an additional insured if it's required because it doesn't give any benefit to you. It just gives coverage to the entity that you're adding. And it also can cost more. So all of the additional insureds, with the exception of landlords, would cost 10% of the professional liability premium to add. Landlords are free. So again, unless you're asked to do it, you should not add anyone because it's not really helping you. It's just helping them. Another option we have is for general liability. And this is something you might want to consider if you have an office space, a physical office where clients come to see you. General liability is slip and fall coverage. So it provides bodily injury and property damage coverage for a rented or leased office location. So if a client or even a third party like the mailman, if they fall down the stairs and break an arm and hold you liable for that injury, that's where general liability would cover you. This one is rated based on the number of locations that you have. So if you have just one office, it's $182 for the year. Any additional location after that first one would cost $60 each. Next, we have recently started offering cyber liability. And this is gaining more popularity because it's data breach coverage. So if you store electronic health records on your computer or server, this would cover you if there were a third-party breach of that information. In most states, we offer the limits of either $15,000 or $25,000. I forgot to put this on the slide, but in New York, we only offer a $100,000 limit just per their state requirements. Unfortunately, this is not available in Alaska, North Dakota, and New Mexico. Okay, so now we've covered the coverages on the policy. So we're going to go through the claims process so you can see how those coverages actually work. So typically what happens is the first thing that happens is you receive notice of a board complaint or a demand letter or a notice of intent to sue you or a subpoena. So what you should do when you get that is report that to your insurance company as soon as possible. Once your insurance company receives the claim, we will send that to the insurance carrier. So the insurance carrier underwrites the policy and handles the claims. So they will assign a claims examiner who will verify the coverage to make sure that the policy can respond to it, and they'll assign your attorney. Your duty as a professional liability policy holder is to notify your insurance company promptly of a professional incident that might lead to a claim, and you must also provide prompt notification in the event of a claim or suit. So takeaway from this is that speed is very important. The sooner that you can file a claim, the sooner we can get the process started to defend you. If you have a policy with CPH, this is what it looks like in your online account to file a claim. So you just log into your CPH account, click on report a claim, and you can choose either the incident report or the subpoena or deposition button. It's just a short form. Most insurance companies should have this available online. If you can't do it online, you can contact your insurance company for manual form options. So you'll just be submitting this form. We'll ask for dates of treatment, a brief description of what the claim is, and you can upload a copy of the notice or letter that you might have received that notifies you of the claim. So once you fill that out, CPH will submit your incident report and your policy documents to our insurance carrier, which is Philadelphia Insurance Company. All of our claims are sent over same day we receive them, and the carrier assigns a claims examiner who will contact you within 2 to 3 business days. Our insurance carrier has several claims examiners who are dedicated to the professional liability program. So they're very experienced in dealing with these kinds of claims, so mental health, malpractice, sexual abuse, and cyber. What they're doing on their end is verifying that the claim that you submitted is covered by the policy. So they're taking a look at the allegations and the dates of treatment. Once they do that, they will contact you and assign your attorney. So typically they'll find someone in your state who serves on in their insurance panel. They can take requests if you have a preferred attorney that you want to work with who's not on their panel. It's not guaranteed, but at the time of a claim, if you do have someone that you really want to work with, you can submit that request and your claims examiner will work with you to do as much as possible to get that person assigned. But again, it's not guaranteed, but it's something you can discuss at the time of the claim. All right, now we'll go through some claim scenarios. So the first scenario is a subpoena claim. So this is a policy for a marriage and family therapist. She, or the insured, provided reunification therapy with a father and his children. The parents are involved in a contentious custody dispute. Mom is trying to prevent the reunification therapy from happening, and her attorney served a subpoena for the insured's testimony at a hearing. So because the insured knows she had the subpoena and deposition coverage, she filed a claim, and that is for the subpoena coverage of up to $10,000 per professional incident. So an attorney was assigned to assist her at all 3 hearings, and she did comply with the subpoena. The attorney's fees cost around $2,500, and they were all paid for by the policy. The next scenario we have is for a board complaint. So this is a policy for a licensed clinical social worker. A board complaint was filed by the non-custodial parent of a minor client. In this case, the court had been denying the non-custodial parent the clinical records for 2 years. The insured was named in a board complaint alleging general unprofessional misconduct and failure to disclose information. A note from our claims department is that about 30% of our board complaints are some version of this story dealing with custody issues. So the insured is covered for their state licensing board investigation defense up to $35,000, and they were assigned an attorney to assist them with their response to the board. The board reviewed that response written by the attorney and the insured, and the matter was dismissed without any disciplinary action. The total defense costs were $6,500. So you can see, even in a case where it's proven that ultimately you did nothing wrong, it's helpful to have the insurance to get you in touch with an attorney who can help you fight the allegation. All right, and last we have a lawsuit. So this lawsuit was brought against a business policy, and the owner is a licensed professional counselor. So in this situation, an adult client died by suicide. The client's family filed a lawsuit against the insured, the client psychiatrist, and the hospital where the client was previously a patient. The allegations were of unprofessional misconduct and not referring to a higher level of care. Since the client was a high earner, the family sought significant monetary damages. So in this case, all dates of treatment fell under the policy period. Therefore, coverage was activated. So as you remember, defense costs are unlimited, and the professional liability limit available for the settlement is $1 million. This suit ultimately paid out $195,000 for the settlement and $135,000 for the defense. We do have notes from our claims department. In situations where multiple parties are named, the insurance companies will subrogate or work together to find percentage of fault. So in the previous slide, it was noted our insured, the LPC, the hospital, and the psychiatrist were all named in the same suit. So the total payout that was determined was $650,000, and our insured's portion was 30%. So the settlement for them was $195,000. The initial demand was for over $2 million, and cases do go back and forth for a long time until an agreement is made. So this is considered a pretty good outcome for our insured. All right, and then next we'll go through a few cyber claims just because it is getting more popular. So in this case, This is an individual policy for a marriage and family therapist. The insured discovered she was unable to get into her therapy appointment program that contained her patient's private mental health data. She also noticed that some files were deleted, and her IT traced this to her ex-boyfriend, who is an IT specialist. So this insured did have the optional cyber liability on her policy, which was up to $15,000. So a law firm specializing in cybersecurity and privacy data was assigned to analyze her files to identify the number of people who are affected and to determine whether notification is required. And they assist with the drafting and mailing of notices. So the insured was ultimately required to notify the Department of Health and Human Services and all 320 patients who were affected. And the policy paid just under $10,000 for the law firm and for the notification services. In the second case, this involves a business policy for a licensed clinical mental health counselor. This insured discovered that a former independent contractor was accessing their system without authorization to delete documents, changed practice and billing accounts, and they downloaded malicious programs, and they also changed the owner's Apple ID. So once they discovered it, they sent the contractor a cease and desist, and they filed a claim on their insurance. So this policy also had the $15,000 limit for cyber liability. So there's coverage for a breach coach and forensics to determine the nature of the scope, the cause, the extent of the breach, and pay for notifications and credit monitoring. So Experian was engaged to assist in the printing, mailing, and call center services. There were 313 notices mailed to the patients who were affected. And they also notified the Attorney General's and Department of Health and Human Services. So this one also paid around $9,000. All right, and that is it for the claims and coverage section. Next, just some FAQs. We often get asked, does the policy cover supervising interns and associates? So the answer is yes. The policy does cover supervision services as long as you are legally allowed to provide that service within the scope of your license. So there's no additional coverage for this. It's just automatically included as long as you can legally do it. Next, what is Federal Tort Claims Act coverage? And this is something that I believe we've seen with CAQH and some credentialing companies will ask for this. It is essentially coverage for HRSA-supported health centers and their employees, and it's provided by the federal government. So unfortunately, it's not connected to CPH or the professional liability policy, but because this does get asked a lot, we just wanted to make a point. You can visit the HRSA website to find out if you are eligible, but it's not going to be an option for your regular professional liability insurance. So just something to look out for if you're going through credentialing and see this. Do we cover animal-assisted therapy services? So yes, the professional liability insurance, it does cover animal-assisted therapy services that you can legally provide under your license. So there's no additional coverage for it. It's just covered as long as that is within the scope of your license. However, we do recommend taking out a separate general liability policy that covers injury caused by animals because our general liability policy does not offer that. So we would recommend reaching out to typically a local agent, someone in your state for that kind of coverage. Do we offer discounts? Yes, so we offer discounts for, first is risk management. So if you've taken a law and ethics course in the last 2 years, you can get a 10% discount on your professional liability premium. You can also get an online discount just for applying or renewing online. And for those who are newly licensed, so you've received your license in the past 12 or 24 months, you receive a discount for that. And for business policies, we do provide discounts for size of group. So the bigger the group is, the higher the discount is. And then, can the policy cover additional occupations and licenses? So yes, if you have multiple licenses in the mental health field, you don't need to take out separate coverage. You can just add on the second one or the additional licenses to your existing policy. All right, and that is all I have for you today. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Our website is here, cphins.com. Our email, we're very responsive by email and phone. We are open today, so we're open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. So I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for joining the presentation. I hope we answered some of your questions. Yes, thank you again to Therapy Sites for the opportunity to present. And I think Andrea might have more for you now.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Sarah. Really appreciate all of the information that you shared with us. I think you did a fantastic job presenting all of these finer details of managing a practice and the insurance that's required in today's environment. So what a great presentation. And I learn something new every single time that I listen, so thank you.
Oh, good.
At Therapy Sites, we work with mental health professionals as well to help them create a professional looking website and ensure they can be found online where and when their clients are searching in order to increase new client acquisition. We encourage the practices we work with to build a website that's a reflection of themselves, but also help them create a marketing strategy that allows them to achieve their goals. Our solutions make it easy to schedule appointments online, create a network of referrals via social media, and even the ability to interact with clients from virtually anywhere from our telehealth platform. As a special thank you for being here today, we are extending a special webinar offer. So you would also get 2 months free of our website hosting and search engine optimization services. One of my colleagues has joined us as well from our marketing department. And so just to take a quick mention, we do have a poll available. So Christina, I don't know if you want to launch that poll or if you need me to, but we're launching the poll. Okay, looks like she's got me covered. So we're launching a poll really just to make sure that we're available to contact you if you're interested in learning more about Therapy Sites and to see if we can't help you attract more new clients to your practice. If you're uncomfortable giving us any feedback via the poll, we also have availability if you wanted to email us at webinar@therapysites.com, or you can call us directly at 866-255-8745. Also, feel free to provide us any feedback about our event today via our post-webinar survey we'll be sending out. We really do appreciate you taking the time to participate today, and we really love all the information that Sarah has shared with us. And I did keep track of some questions along the way. So Sarah, if you have a few more minutes, it looks like we've got some time left. Do you have some time to answer a handful of questions that we got throughout the presentation?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. So one of the questions that came up was, does CPH only work with mental health professionals? I'm an executive and business coach. Do you work with other types of practices?
We do, yes. I would say the majority of our business and what we went through today is mental health, but we do have a program for coaching. That's with our insurance carrier, the Medical Protective. It's very similar coverage, so similar limits. The difference is, I think in that program, the limits available are 1 million, 3 million, or 1 million, 6 million. But yes, we do have that as an option if you go to our website.
Awesome. Awesome. Another question that came in was, for a nonprofit, would board members be covered? And if so, under what rate?
Oh, okay. So for board members, typically for those, we usually recommend looking into directors and officers insurance, which unfortunately we don't offer. But our insurance carrier, Philadelphia, they do have a directors and officers program. So I think if you look up Philadelphia Insurance directors and officers, that should bring up their landing page.
Officers. Okay, perfect. Just jotting it down. Does CPH offer policies to peer support specialists?
At this time, I don't believe so. But I'll check with our insurance carrier to find out if that's something that we might be able to add in the future.
Awesome.
But right now, I don't believe we have it.
Okay, perfect. I think you covered this earlier. Does CPH cover telehealth services as well as multi-state licensures?
Yes, it does. So there's you don't have to add anything to get that coverage. It's automatic as long as you can legally provide telehealth, and the policy is portable, so it follows you to any of the states where you can legally practice.
Awesome. Do I need a business policy if I only have an LLC and no employees?
We would recommend it, yes. So even for single person businesses, because your business is a separate entity from yourself, it's possible for the business to be named in a claim or suit with you. So if you have just individual coverage, the business would not be protected. So we'd recommend the business policy to cover both you and the business.
Okay. Do I need to give CPH the address of where I'm practicing?
You do not. So the only address we ask for is a mailing address.
Okay.
And that can be anywhere that you can legally receive mail.
All right. So like at my home or wherever, right?
Right, right.
Okay. All right. Perfect. How soon can I get covered?
You can apply for, actually in this program, you can apply for same day coverage. So if you, the same day that you're filling out the application, you can have the policy start right then or up to 75 days into the future.
All right. Up to 75 days. All right. Let's see, discounts. I think you covered this also. So I believe the answer is yes. Discounts are available for
Yes.
various things.
Yep. And they'll pop up in the application.
Awesome. Let's see. And there was a question in regards to CE credits. So I'm not sure, I don't think I saw it in your presentation. So I don't think we're offering CE credits, but is that something that you guys offer if some of the practices gain additional information about insurance programs and things?
We, unfortunately, we don't offer CEs, but
Okay.
I think we usually recommend just contacting a professional association for those opportunities. But if you have taken continuing education in law or ethics, that's how you would get a discount with CPH. It's our risk management discount, we call it.
Okay. And then the last question that came in, does this insurance cover a mental health consulting business? No patient services.
Oh, okay. If you, our program, no, I guess short answer, no. Our program is meant to cover clinical services. So we unfortunately don't have anything for just consulting.
Okay, so no. All right. I think that covered everybody's questions that came in and a couple of others that I had listed out previously. Um, so that covers that. Um, if there are any other questions, obviously feel free to raise a hand. Otherwise, Sarah, if you don't have anything else to add or any other feedback, we may be able to end the session a little bit early today.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Andrea, for
Yeah, of
moderating this.
course. Of course. No, thank you so much for participating. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for all of the people that attended the session today. Just as an FYI, there will be a recording available. Not quite yet, but I have got to finish the session and upload everything, but there will be a recording available. It will also show all of the slides that were shared as well. So that will be available to everybody that registered and attended the event. So again, happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for attending and enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.